Water released to protect Beijing caused devastating floods in Zhuozhou and other areas. Prices of traditional Chinese medicines in China are out of control, and individual varieties have increased by 900. Disaster relief supplies abandoned in mountain ravines. Officials intend to educate those who leak the information. Chinese people worry about the safety of 3 new nuclear power projects and the risk of war. Encouraging the whole people to arrest spies. The CCP has been ridiculed as paranoid. CCP Reshuffles espionage network in Hong Kong and Macau. Zeng Qinghong's faction sidelined. All will be covered today in China Undercover.
Water released to protect Beijing caused devastating floods in Zhuozhou and other areas. On August 1, 2023, the Chinese authorities unexpectedly released floodwaters in Hebei, resulting in severe casualties and destruction in places like Zhuozhou. Many villages and towns were devastated, and people were caught off guard with no place to escape. The situation in Beijing was also grim, with areas submerged and the true death toll unknown. Videos from various places in Zhuozhou showed the devastating floods engulfing villages and taking lives. The situation was heart-wrenching. The government reported 9 deaths in Zhuozhou, but the actual death toll is believed to be much higher according to local estimates. In Beijing, too, heavy rains caused widespread flooding. Roads turned into rivers, and many residential buildings' basements and ground floors were submerged. The situation was chaotic, with people struggling to cope with the sudden disaster. Other areas in Hebei, such as Zhuozhou, witnessed fatalities due to electric shocks in the floodwaters, and dams breached in Handan and Exingtai, inundating numerous villages. Guangzhou streets also turned into waterways. In contrast, the Tianjin-Dongdi-Xihong area provided some notice before releasing floodwaters, but evacuation was limited to personal belongings only, leaving people concerned for their crops, poultry, and livestock about to be submerged. As the floodwaters poured into Hebei, Tianjin, and Beijing, heavy rainfall continued in Beijing on August 1, leading to more flooding. After the waters receded, the city was left in a muddy mess. China's weather forecast warned of more heavy rain in the coming days, particularly in northeastern and eastern Inner Mongolia, with Jilin and southeastern Heilongjiang expecting severe convective weather, possibly accompanied by strong winds, hail, and even tornadoes. Prices of traditional Chinese medicines in China are out of control, and individual varieties have increased by 900. Since June of this year, the prices of traditional Chinese medicinal materials have been soaring. More than 200 types of conventional Chinese medicinal materials have increased by over 50s in the past year. 100 types have increased by over 125. Commonly used bulk medicinal materials have increased by over 200. Some individual medicinal materials, such as Hediotis diffusa, have even increased by as much as 400 to 900. Data from the website Tiandiwang also shows that from January 1, 2020 to December 1, 2022, the prices of many traditional Chinese medicinal materials such as sandalwood seeds, dragon bones, Coptis chinensis, and sour jujube kernels have doubled. Dragon bones increased from 55 yuan per kilogram to 280 yuan. Sour jujube kernels increased from 205 yuan per kilogram to 860 yuan, and sandalwood seeds increased from 24 yuan per kilogram to 150 yuan. Jia Haibin, Deputy Secretary General of the Chinese Medicine Association's Planting and Breeding Committee, stated that the price of traditional Chinese medicinal materials typically follows a small cycle of 3 years and a large cycle of 9 years. However, the current cycle has lasted for 11 years, with continuous increases for 3 years. The fundamental reason for the price increase lies in the irrational distribution of interests in the traditional Chinese medicinal material industry and the chaotic production of various traditional Chinese medicinal materials. Jia Haibin explained that the traditional Chinese medicinal material industry chain includes production, trade, and circulation, industry, and end markets. Among them, the market size and revenue level of the industry and end markets are far higher than the planting end. Industrial enterprises are the main profit makers and controllers of the entire industry chain, but have long neglected the source and supply chain security. Deng Yang, a professor of medical and health law at Beijing University of Chinese Medicine, said that due to the long-term neglect of the planting end, traditional Chinese medicine companies have been slow to establish planting bases, resulting in difficulty in securing the supply of medicinal materials. If faced with speculation by hot money and hoarding by intermediate merchants, the market price will continue to rise. A senior insider in the traditional Chinese medicinal material industry told China News Weekly that in the past 30 years, every round of price increases for traditional Chinese medicinal materials has been accompanied by inflation. Over the past 2 years, the scale of speculative capital in traditional Chinese medicinal materials has accumulated tens of billions of yuan or even higher. So, how could the prices of traditional Chinese materials not soar?
Disaster relief supplies abandoned in mountain ravines. Officials intend to educate those who leak the information. The flood is raging, turning towns into seas. Cars, houses, furniture, appliances, and people are all tossed in the waves. Farmland is now submerged, and crops and vegetation are no longer visible. People tremble, cry, and suffer from despair, hunger, and fear. However, recently, a village in Jingping Village, Jifan Town, Jishan County, Shaanxi exposed a situation where some disaster relief supplies, including flour and noodles, were abandoned in a mountain ravine, attracting attention. After the news spread on the internet, the town and village immediately launched an investigation and took action. The investigation targets the person who leaked the information, and the action involves those responsible for wasting the relief supplies. On the afternoon of July 29, a journalist from a mainland media outlet learned from the Jifan Town government that there was indeed a case of donated disaster relief supplies being abandoned in Jingping Village. The village cadre, village head, and their assistants have been dealt with, and the village has been ordered to rectify the situation immediately. On the evening of the 29th, a staff member surnamed Luo from the Jifan Town government told the journalist that the villagers' feedback was mostly true. At the town and village cadres meeting, Bio Huan, along with village cadres Gaio Zianping and village director assistant Yang Yuntao, made profound self-criticisms. These supplies have been stored in the village committee's warehouse for a long time, without proper handling. Bio Huan stated that the discarded donated flour and instant noodles had already expired. He also mentioned that they would handle the abandoned disaster relief supplies to avoid environmental pollution. Now, Typhoon Du Rai and the torrential rains have caused tremendous disasters in northern regions, such as Henan, Hebei, and Beijing, leaving thousands of people in need of food and clothing. Donations from the private sector and various communities are pouring in. However, news of corruption in disaster relief aid or profiting from it has been heard too many times. No wonder many private organizations prefer to deliver donations directly to the affected people instead of going through government or official channels. It's because the Communist Party officials are too irresponsible and unconcerned about the people's hardships, only seeking to please their superiors and treating the people as mere tools and resources. This extreme selfishness is a result of the Communist Party's ideology and system. The CCP indoctrinates atheism and a survival of the fittest struggle mentality, fundamentally destroying people's morals, conscience, and universal civilizational principles. They don't abide by the law, and they even create village rules and laws to persecute the people. Officials say one thing but do another, taking bribes and embezzling. They compete to be even more corrupt, causing the decline of social ethics at an alarming rate. This leads to numbness among the people and grassroots officials, and some even imitate these corrupt practices, further perpetuating this harmful behavior. Chinese people worry about the safety of 3 new nuclear power projects and the risk of war. China's State Council Executive Meeting approved the nuclear power projects in Ningde, Fujian, Shidao Bay, Shandong, and Zhuozhou Bio, Liaoning. Among them, the Ningde nuclear power plant, which is closest to Taiwan, already operates 4 units, and 2 additional units are planned for the second phase using China's indigenous third-generation nuclear technology, Hualong-1. Concerns have been raised by the public about the lack of transparent supervision at nuclear power plants, leading to worries about potential disasters. Chinese Premier Li Keqiang chaired the State Council Executive Meeting on July 31, where the decision to approve the nuclear power projects in Fujian, Shandong, and Liaoning was made. According to CCTV, these 3 nuclear power plants will add new units to the existing operational and under construction units. The Ningde nuclear power plant, being closest to Taiwan, has 4 operational units and 2 additional units are planned for the second phase using China's indigenous third-generation nuclear technology, Hualong-1. Commentator Mr. Zeng from Shandong expressed his concerns in an interview with Radio Free Asia on August 1. People's main worry is about potential pollution accidents at the nuclear power plants. Many doubt whether China's nuclear technology and emission standards meet international standards. Zhang said what the people are worried about is whether China's technology has reached international levels. That's the crucial point. There was no prior public notice and public opinion was not taken into account. Shidao Bay is also very close to Qingdao, where I live. Scholars and the public are concerned about the risks associated with China's nuclear technology. Veteran commentator Kai Shunken believes that safety is of utmost importance for nuclear projects, as the consequences of a nuclear leak would be unimaginable. As of April this year, China had 56 operational nuclear power units, 19 units under construction, and no closed units. By the end of 2022, nuclear energy accounted for approximately 5% of China's total electricity generation, with a target to reach 10 by 2035. Recently, the official Chinese media outlet Xinhua withdrew several articles related to China's nuclear power expansion overseas. One article discussed China's interest in building nuclear power plants in other parts of the world, highlighting the economic benefits and strategic significance of nuclear exports. However, the content of these articles has been removed.
Encouraging the whole people to arrest spies, the CCP has been ridiculed as paranoid. The Chinese Communist Party's CP National Security Department issued a call on Tuesday, August 1, for the whole society to mobilize against espionage, attempting to incite a struggle between the masses, which has been mocked by foreign experts as paranoia. The United States has already issued warnings regarding the CCP's new version of the counterintelligence law, as it lacks specific definitions for national security and interests. This raises concerns that foreign companies operating in China could face accusations and penalties from Beijing for their normal business activities. In response to the CCP's latest move, which calls for mass involvement in catching spies, Isaac Stone Fish, a former journalist stationed in China and the CEO of the consulting firm Strategy Risks, tweeted, "It gives me chills, the Chinese CCP. National Security Department calls for all Chinese citizens to participate in counterespionage work. In other words, to monitor their fellow citizens and foreigners. Terrifying." Don Wainland, a journalist for The Economist based in Shanghai, tweeted so many slogans about rejuvenating China with collective pride, self-confidence, self-strength, etc. But what is being demonstrated is a form of paranoia. Some experts have drawn comparisons between the CCP's latest initiative and the surveillance system of the former Soviet Union. Valina Chakarova, the former director of the Austrian Institute for European and Security Policy, wrote, "China's digital totalitarianism with Chinese characteristics. With the help of technology, China has made the former Soviet Union known for monitoring its own people." Blush. Noah Barkin, an expert on China, EU relations at the Mercator Institute for China Studies, described it as China's version of the East German Ministry for State Security. Stasi, former director of the National Counterintelligence and Security Center, Ansiki William Evanina attended a congressional hearing on July 27 and expressed his distrust in Ford Motor Company's collaboration with Chinese electric vehicle battery manufacturer Calais Contemporary Amperex Technology and Parex Technology in the United States. He questioned whether Chinese employees of CATL would engage in espionage on behalf of the CP. In response, Evanina replied, 100%. He emphasized the need to differentiate between the Chinese people and the CCP. However, he noted that the CCP often leverages businessmen and engineers, what he called non-traditional collectors, to serve its interests. He stated, based on my 10 years of experience in the intelligence community, I have not seen a single private Chinese company that is not held, managed, or influenced by the CCP. In an article published in a domestic legal magazine in July, Chen Yixin, Minister of the CCP's National Security Department, stated that political security is the primary task of national security, and the core of political security is to ensure the leadership and ruling status of the Chinese Communist Party. U.S. blacklists 2 Chinese companies involved in forced labor. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security, DHS, announced on Tuesday that it will ban imports from 2 Chinese companies as part of efforts to eliminate forced labor practices in the U.S. supply chain. According to the announcement, the DHS-led Interagency Forced Labor Enforcement Task Force, FLETFES, added 2 Chinese companies to the entity list of the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, UFOPA. Starting from August 2, 2023, imports of goods produced by the battery manufacturer Camel Group Company and the natural pigment manufacturer Qinghong Biotech Group Company Limited and its subsidiary Qinghong Biotech Group Yangpani Limited and its subsidiary Qinghong Biotech Group Yangqi will be restricted from entering the United States because these companies have engaged in commercial activities that suppress persecuted groups, including the Uyghur minority. Camel Group Company is one of China's largest lead-acid battery manufacturers and is based in Xiangyang. Hu Biotech Group Company Limited is headquartered in Handan, Hebei, and produces plant extracts, food additives, natural pigments, and agricultural supplements. Its subsidiary, Qinghong Biotech Group Yankee Company Limited, is located in the Xinjiang region. Alejandro N. Mayorkas, the U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security, said on Tuesday, today's enforcement actions demonstrate the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to holding accountable organizations that commit serious human rights abuses and engage in forced labor. We will continue to work with all our partners to promote legitimate trade while excluding goods produced by forced labor in Xinjiang from the U.S. market. In addition to Tuesday's announcement, DHS also issued an updated version of the strategy to prevent the importation of goods made with forced labor in the People's Republic of China, as required by Congress in 2023. DHS's Office of Strategy, Policy, and Plans, CP, and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, are leading the department's efforts to change importers' behavior and hold those responsible for serious forced labor practices outlined in the strategy. Robert Silvers, the chairman of the Forced Labor Enforcement Task Force, stated, "The Forced Labor Enforcement Task Force continues to send a strong message to industry that the United States will not tolerate forced labor in our supply chain, and we will always stand up against cruel and inhumane labor practices. We are committed to eliminating forced labor worldwide," Silvers said. Ship reshuffles espionage network in Hong Kong and Macau. Zeng Qinghong's faction sidelined. Since the outbreak of the Hong Kong anti-extradition bill movement, there has been a large-scale personnel reshuffle in the Chinese Communist Party, CP, Hong Kong, and Macau Special Operations System. Xi Jinping's faction is gradually taking control of the spy network deployed by the CP in Hong Kong. Starting from mid-July this year, within a span of about 2 weeks, there have been 6 personnel changes in CP's Hong Kong agencies, including the CCP State Council's Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, the CCP's National Security Office in Hong Kong, and the Liaison Office. However, the visible cleansing actions are limited to the publicly known CCP official organizations, while the cleaning of more covert spy organizations remains hidden from the outside world. During Jiang Zemin's tenure, the highest key CCP agency in charge of Hong Kong affairs, the CEP Central Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, the Hong Kong Liaison Office, and even the Hong Kong Chief Executive and other top officials were all under the control of Jiang's number 2, Zeng Qinghong. During Hu Jintao's reign as Jiang's successor, the CCP spy network in Hong Kong and Macau was also largely under Zeng Qinghong's command. Zeng Qinghong used to oversee the entire CCP spy system, and his role was comparable to that of the CCP's top spy chief, Xu Enlai. The outside world has been paying attention to how, since Xi Jinping came to power in 2012, Hong Kong has become a battleground between Xi Jinping and Jiang's factions. In particular, the spy system in the Hong Kong and Macau region has been directly involved in the CCP's internal power struggles. When the anti-extradition bill movement erupted in Hong Kong in 2019, the activities of the CCP's spy network controlled by Zeng Qinghong reached their peak, repeatedly causing disturbances and making the situation even more complex and out of control. Since then, the Xi Jinping regime has increased efforts to clean up both overt and covert spy organizations in the Hong Kong and Macau regions. Among the recent series of personnel appointments, the most notable are Dong Jingwei, the Deputy Minister of the CPM's National Security Ministry, becoming the new head of the CP's National Security Office in Hong Kong, and Liu Guangyan, who took office as the Deputy Director of the Liaison Office on July 25. Both of them are members of Xi Jinping's faction. Dong Jingwei's public identity is the head of the CCP's spy agency, while Liu Guangyan's political background repeatedly shows characteristics of being involved in covert spy activities. Furthermore, at the National Recognition Conference for the National Security System held on July 14, Chen Wenqing called on all party committees at all levels to attach great importance to and support covert operations. The CCP's overt declaration of the so-called covert operations has led some analysts to believe that Chen Wenqing is subtly demanding that officials at all levels support the CCP's use of espionage to carry out internal purges. The Chinese Communist Party's proclamation of covert operations in such an unhidden manner has led some analysts to believe that Chen Wenqing is subtly demanding that officials at all levels support the CCA's use of espionage to carry out internal purges. Overseas pro-democracy activist Wei Jingsheng previously analyzed that there is serious factional strife within the CCP's spy system. He said, "The internal struggle within the intelligence agencies is very intense. Different intelligence agencies are also competing and undermining each other. The intelligence agencies themselves are chaotic."
And that is today's episode. If you found this video informative, please subscribe and ring a bell to get notification. Thank you for watching and see you next time